And good morning. Welcome to our final edition of Coach's Corner for the 2024-25 season and our just our one-day digs here in the staff room at Valley City Public Schools. And we're going to be wrapping things up with the state tournament show. We'll have Coach Bacalard coming up here and talking state track momentarily, but we'll start off with state tennis. Coach Matt Nielsen join us, and the season's over, and again, Coach, we have state champs here for Valley City.
Yes, it's a fantastic run that our team has had. Let's go to the team competition first, because we haven't talked since before the region tournament. That we had three teams that we didn't really line up well with. We run into all three of them at the region tournament. We were able to clip Horace 3-2, but then we lost to Bismarck. We lost to Cheyenne.
Yeah.
1-4, which is deceiving because we had match points at one match that could have flipped it to 3-2.
Okay.
And then Kaylee was playing Shireen Durrani and won the first set. Lost the super tiebreak 6-10. So if you flip 4 of those points in Kaylee's match, and we win one of those match points there, so it's literally 5 points away from us making the EDC title match.
Sure.
So I mean, it was that close against Cheyenne, and then against Davies, we didn't match up well against. They had Tanis at number 1. We put out a lineup that gave us a shot to win at all 5 spots. Tanis did beat Georgia there. Kaylee won at 2 singles. Sky and Rylan won at 1 doubles. 2 doubles. We were up 4-3 in the second. Lost a deuce to go to 4-4, and then they gained the momentum and finished that match off. And then Chloe never gained ground against a senior in Esslinger, so we ended up losing out of the region tournament for the first time in 5 years. So we didn't get there. And I told my 3 leaders, Georgia, Sky, and Kaylee, like we talked about it, like, yep, it's awful not making the state tournament, but I go, the silver lining is last year when we won the state title, it was way late. We were emotionally and physically drained, and then we kind of just fizzled out in the individuals. Sure. And I go, you know what? Yes, it's awful, but you know what? You guys are going to be prepped for the individual tournaments, which I wasn't wrong.
When you talk about that team matchup, I think a lot of us, me in particular, thought maybe Shanley was going to be the team you were going to see if you got to that state qualifier.
Yep, and we thought so too. So we thought that big match was because we knew we would line up well against Shanley. So we were like, you know what, we got to win this first round against Horace to then get against Shanley. But then Shanley pulled up the upset. So like, hindsight's 2020. Like, it would have been better for us to lose the first round. But you don't know what's going on, and it's why you play the game. And you know what? Congratulations to Shanley and Davies for state qualifying for the first time in a few years. So that's all right.
And you look at the team then, okay, so Georgia in the 3 matches lost her 3 singles matches in the team, but then she really played great tennis when she got to individuals.
Well, she played great tennis even in the team, but she lined up against
3 number 1s.
So you got Tanis Lee, who was state runner-up in doubles. You had Alyssa Sommerfeld, which was our senior athlete of the year, plus she made All-State. And then you had the other number 1 was Sharia Gu, who won the state champ in singles. So I mean, you can't look at it and go, and Georgia was 0-3. No, Georgia played 3 great matches, and it really prepped her for that individual tournament in which she was seeded number 6, which I thought was an atrocity that she dropped that low. But we seeded Mary Wolf 3, which I thought she should have been seated lower, so we actually got the right lineup, or the right matchup. So we had Georgia out of the 6 versus Mary Wolf the 3, which we thought we had a good shot at. And in that quarterfinal match in the EDC tournament, Georgia was able to take Mary Wolf out, which then put her in the semifinals, finished her top 4 for the first time in over 20 years that Highlander girls have had a semifinalist at the EDC tournament in singles. So that was pretty awesome.
And then she ended up facing Wolf again when we got to the state tournament.
Yep, and win the state tournament. Then you got Mary Wolf got in there too, where Georgia won her first match, got against Shayna Klinsky from Dickinson, which is a fabulous player. She made the state title match against GU. So sent Georgia the back draw. Georgia won a couple matches there to include the rematch against Mary Wolf, and then she went all the way to the 5th place match in which Aviator from Dickinson took her out, and Aviator didn't hit 1 ball out for the first set and a half. And we tried to coach Georgia, but it's like, you know, when someone's on fire like that, they're on fire. And Georgia took 6th place at the state tournament, which is amazing because we haven't had a state placer in singles since like 2003, I think it was, and then we've had it back-to-back years with Sky. Sky took 6th last year, and then Georgia took 6th this year. So we've had 2 singles placers back-to-back years, which is pretty awesome.
Well, then Sky and Kaylee, the term I used, at least through the first early rounds, they went through that their draws like a hot knife going through butter because they were playing well.
They were so in the region tournament, they just flew to the semis. In the semis, they had a matchup which we lost to that team last year at the state tournament in the semis. We came out and just went through that semifinal match at the EDC in like 45 minutes, where the Davies and Red River played a 3-hour 3-setter. So then when we got an EDC championship match, I think we were mentally, physically ready. They were a little emotionally drained after that 3-hour match and a little physically drained. So we kind of took care of business in that EDC championship match. At the state tournament, we actually came out a little bit slow in the first 2 matches. Didn't play the best tennis, and they realized they didn't play the best tennis. And I was thinking, if we come out like this, we're going to take fourth the next day.
Right.
But we came out at the semifinals of state tournament and just on fire. We won the first set 6-0 against the Mandan number 1 team. And then it was a little closer in the second set, and there could have been a couple points that could have teetered, but we always got those big points, and we won the second set 6-3, which then got us into the championship. And in the championship, we played Fargo Davies again, and we beat them in the regular season. We beat them at the championship in the West Fargo Invite. We beat them at the EDC championship. So this is the 4th matchup and the 3rd championship matchup that these 2 teams have played each other. First set got down 0-2. We win 6 of the next 7 games to win the first set, and then in the second set, there was a big 3-2 deuce that happened. We got that point, which gave us the game. So 4-2 versus 3-3. It's a totally different game. And at 4-2, we just kept the hammer down, won the championship.
And that was Lee and Wanzik, I think.
Lee and Wanzik, is that duo. And they're both seniors.
Right. So and that's the key thing that I like in this storyline. We had 2 seniors that are done with the Highlander tennis this year with Nelson and Belgard that are graduating, but the bulk of the team will be back next season.
So in the East, we're the only one that's not losing any key players. So if you look at Red River State qualified and they were the EDC champs, they lose 3 of their top 4. Davies loses 3 of their top 4 state qualifier. Shanley only loses 1 of their top 4. Horace loses their top number 1 and plus another role player, and then Cheyenne loses their state champ in Durrani plus their number 4 in Mauk. So like looking at next year, we don't lose anybody, we get everybody back. Everybody else loses key pieces, so we should be extremely competitive near the top next year as long as we put in some work in the off season here.
And I think Sky and Kaylee only lost 1 match when they were paired together in doubles, and that was a Gu and Durrani, I think, during the regular season.
Yep, so that was Gu and Durrani, so it was, 2 of the best players in the state. You had Durrani did win the state doubles title last year. Gu won the state singles title this year. So yes, you put those 2 together, and they got us on that day.
And I think she won it with Summerfeld, who was with Cheyenne, and then had to move to Horace with the redistrict.
Moved to Horace, you're right. So when they redistricted, those 2 state champs got split up, and they both went singles, and they finished 2 and 3 in the EDC singles competition. So realistically, if those 2 got split up and they would have went singles, it would have been Cheyenne 1, 2, 3 at the EDC tournament. So they would have been unstoppable, I think, if they would have went to split up.
Well, now comes the off season, and for both the boys and girls, a lot of tennis to be played over the next 3 months before the boys kick off in August.
Yes. So this is the first year that the Parks and Recs at Rec and I have teamed up, and we're doing junior high and senior high skills and drills this year. So from 8 to 9:30. And then 9:30 to 11, I'm doing that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And it's not, I said this is not your typical Parks and Rec. This is like, if you sign up, you want constructive criticism, we're going to be doing footworking. It's going to be difficult because this is what the parents came to me and said, we don't have this in Valley City. We want something that's going to make our kids better. Yes, they should have some fun, but we want it to get better. And we're just finishing up the first week, and it's been fabulous, and kids have improved so much already in the first week. And they're taking the constructive criticism, and then also, so we have 33 kids in that. Then we're doing a singles league too, which we have 20 kids signed up for our singles league. So like we have kids playing tennis. We have the USTA Northern Director of Player Development is going to come and do a camp here on July 8th for 5 hours, which we're going to have at an advanced camp. So it's going to be our varsity kids. So we're going to have someone else coming in, like the main guru for 4 states is going to be put on a camp for us.
All right. Well, a lot to be heard, and next fall is going to be fun with the boys. And Matt, congratulations again on a great season, and we look forward to what happens in 2025, 2026.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Coach Matt Nielsen joining us. We'll be back, and we'll talk state track with Coach Bakalar. That's on the way as this final edition of Coach's Corner continues here on the Highlander Activity Network. And back here on Coach's Corner on the Highlander Activity Network, wrapping up the 2024-25 season. And the state track has been in the books now for a couple of weeks. And joining us here is Coach Trevor Bakalar. And before we get to that, Coach, we get to the state meet. You got a lot of kids that got there. I guess the first question, usually the hardest one, is the last one. So I'll ask it right away.
Okay.
Throughout this year, I think I've asked this before. Yeah. Did any individual really surprise you that just throughout the year that they really got better from day one to that last day of the year?
Wow,
There probably was a bunch.
That is a tough one, right? Just to pick one is tough. We had a lot of kids just progress throughout the season, and I know we've talked many times personal records and things like that. But I think overall, when I I coach the sprinters mainly, so we're looking on that side. But I can see Chesney Thompson was one who, progressively got pretty good the end of last year. Mm-hmm. She always was dealing with little injuries from other sports and things like that. Well, this year stayed pretty healthy and performed well. Yeah. And that was one that surprised me. Not just running from the 100, the 200, and then she started running 400s. Both her and Morgan toward the end of the season, which was really nice because that helped that 4x4 team qualify. But she was one who was willing to just jump into a race or do something. And then if I look across some other things, I think within the field events, Scott Rody was pretty consistent all season. And I think he always had a chance, to qualify. And then same with Jovi Borg. And then she finally got that throw, which was really nice there. I think for the younger kids, I guess they're not younger. They've been around for a while. But, Cadence in the distance, we always expect, things out of Greta, right? High expectations, things like that. But she stayed pretty consistent, and ran well, which was really nice to see.
You had a lot of kids, too, that were very good in multiple events. And if you're going to be in track, you don't have to be good in multiple events, but it helps that you'd be willing to try. But not only did they try, but they did very well.
Yeah. From the beginning of the season, it's one of those, hey, let's try something. Let's see what fits. We do have limitations at some of our meets, which is challenging sometimes with the roster because if you're my sixth sprinter and I already have my top 5 that I can only take, then you don't get to go to a meet. And so maybe, branching out a little bit and maybe you're good in long jump or try throwing or do something else. And so we had a lot of kids do that, which provided opportunities for them. And I think they liked the experience a little more. And so, you have to, we're not huge. So we need kids to do multiple things if we can.
Right.
They may not be great at it, but at least they're able to do it and compete and be competitive.
Okay, so Katie Koka qualified in 4 events. Well, you can do 4. I think she qualified like 6. But she was one of those one like Morgan Larson qualified in multiple events. And Katie did a great job. Long jump. I think in 200 she's part of relays. But pole vault, that's her gig.
Yeah, she really likes that pole vault, and she puts a lot of time and effort into that. It does, some of the other things take a little bit of a side note, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. Kids know what their priorities are, and especially when we get toward the end of the season, we really start to break it down and say, okay, what do you like to do? What are you pretty good at? We'll focus on that. And then we'll do the other things when the opportunity comes up. And the kids realize, hey, let's put our cards in here and see how we do. But yeah, she's a great overall athlete. I wish we had like that heptathlon or something like that.
Right.
But she would definitely fit a category like that.
She should do a steeplechase. I'd like to see her do steeplechase.
They actually had a steeplechase event in Jamestown.
That's right.
The other week. And so, we did have a kid go. Adrian went to that and said he really enjoyed it, but he wished he would have worked on hurdling a little bit more.
Sure.
So being a distance runner, he doesn't really have to do that. But yeah, he said he really enjoyed the event.
Well, Morgan Larson's another multi-sporter that did very well and really added a lot to get into those relays, but she was another multi-sport athlete for you.
Yeah, she, and she used to jump a little bit too. And then just sometimes that jumping can be a little hard on the knees, the ankles, the hips, things like that. And so she really focused on running this year and did very well. She's put in some time in the off season doing some other things, I think down at Sanford and stuff like that. And so she's really, really excelled. And now we're just really focusing, trying to get her form a little bit better. You know, that once that improves, I think she's going to notice another improvement. But you look at her right now with this past season, with the 1, the 2, even running that 400 here late in the year, she's put herself up there, you know, and even though she didn't place in those individual events, she was close, right, into making the finals. Or, you know, when you're in that top 10, top 15, that's pretty good in the state overall. And so, you know, and kids walk away and they think, but I didn't place. Well, you know, think about how small that group gets as you move up, and you know, to be a part of that is pretty good.
And then on the boys' side, Dylan Hunt, he had a great season, and then placing at state.
Yeah, you know, we got out there on that Thursday, and he kicked it off for us in that discus. So he threw pretty well, pretty close to the school record too. He was trying for it, but. Then with him placing in state there, what do you have, 5th place, which was really nice. And then, you know, we got to that next day and we had a lot of kids competing on Friday and then through Saturday as well. And then we had Katie, you know, in the pole vault, placed 8th. And then we finished it off with the girls 4x4 placing. So that was really nice. And, you know, other kids did very well. Jovi was so close. She made the finals. You know, getting to state was a big goal of hers, you know, and then realizing now, okay, I'm in the finals. She was close to just a little bit further, you know, and she would have got there. Even Lainey, you know, in the long jump, jumped well, performed well. A lot of kids hit PRs, and that's what we ask for. You perform your best at the time when you're supposed to, and then it is what it is.
So, and just a handful of seniors on this team.
Really.
6 or 7 around.
We had quite a few overall seniors. We had 14. Overall. But we had some new kids this year that came out for the first time, which was, I'm glad that they do. We always wish that they would come out a little sooner, but that's okay. I'm glad that they gave it a try. But overall, when you look at our point scorers, those kids that were getting results and things like that, I think they're going to be missed for sure. We have a pretty good sized group of juniors and sophomores coming up. So I think numbers should stay pretty steady. And then we'll just have to try to get into that junior high a little bit more. Those numbers were down a little bit this year, but they seem to bounce back. Really, honestly, when the kids become sophomores, even some freshmen don't come out in junior high, and then they come out, you know. And some of that's the transition from other sports. Maybe they decide, hey, maybe it's tennis or it's golf or whatever the sport is that they're doing. It's just not for me, so let me try this.
Let's give this a try and see what happens and see where we go. There was one question I want to ask, and I'm sure you probably did not get a chance to see this gentleman throw because he's from the Class B, Bickett from Carrington, I believe. 211 feet, which was a state record and 3rd best in the nation out of Carrington. I think it was a javelin.
Yes, it was.
And he was 30 feet better than the 2nd place finisher. Did you get a chance to see it, or you probably heard about it though?
I did. Oh yeah, we heard it over the PA. We were up in the stands there watching. Actually, our athletes were competing, and so they. I heard that over the PA, and everyone was like, "Whoa!" and the crowd just like, "Wow!" You know. So that announcer out there does a great job of just. Promoting those kids, you know, telling you where they're at, rankings, things like that. So he did a great job in, you know, informing the crowd of what was going on. But that's such an amazing throw. Back in the days when I coached throwing under Bill Jansen, we had Tyler Stoltz, you know, threw like 190, and that was a huge throw at that time. But now these kids are just progressively getting better and better. And you look at kids even across the nation. I like to follow on athletic.net, but they just had a high school kid throw like 76 feet or something like that in the shot put. Like we saw 50, almost 60 feet, and we thought that was far. Think about, you know,
76. That's ridiculous. That's crazy.
But I think our season overall was a very good year. I was happy. we concluded with our award ceremony, and it was great. It was great.
I know you give out like three. I have four dedicated, but you probably could have given dedicated to a lot of different individuals this year, if not the whole team.
Those awards are they're great. I love handing stuff out to kids. We try to recognize everybody in some form or fashion throughout the season. But yeah, the kids voted, and again, dedicated, improved. I mean, you could give that to so many.
Right.
And that's why a number of years ago we kind of got away from just MVP of track, MVP of field, and now we just, because those kids do cross over like you mentioned, and so now it's just, okay, who do we recognize? Who do the kids recognize as being dedicated, most valuable? And we can give them one plaque that has multiple things on there, because there are some kids that fit all of those categories.
Let the kids vote, and take some pressure off the coaches.
It is, the kids do the voting, and I'll be honest, the awards that we hand out are basically, they're based off of what the kids decide. Right. And coaches do. I let them vote too, right? So they get their say.
You got to have a little say.
Yeah, they got to have a little bit of say, but I know it's always a nice way to finish the season. So.
Yeah. And of course, we want to talk a lot of Derek Shape had a great season as well, and qualified for state. Yeah. And really, the potential is there to see him put his name at the top of that list.
I think so. Again, he's one of those, when you talk about through the season, he came out last year, same thing. Mm-hmm. Finished the season off pretty strong. Didn't know where he was going to kind of be at this year, especially with our boys sprinters. We were down a little bit this year, and then overall as a team. But he led that way, and he progressed from being a third heat kid to a second heat, and then to the first, and being in that fast heat. And so he put himself up there, and he works hard. He does. He wants to get better. He wants to improve, and so he's a kid that next year I think is going to be near the top. And that transition for us moving down, I think is going to be a big factor. The Class B world, there's a lot of great kids in that world. It's not going to be easy for sure, and especially with us being in our tough region as well. But seeing him at that, and we looked at a lot of kids, did some comparisons. Say our girls 4x1 finishes 10th. Okay, doesn't make the finals, but would have placed third or fourth, that day, if they would have made. So I think next year when we look at overall and how they compete and get into state, I think we're going to see a lot more placers. And that'll be good for the kids. So,
Cool. Well, Coach, appreciate it again. Great year. Another one before you know it, fall's here, and then we start another year. But you want to take it slow, though.
I will. It'll be nice not coaching in the fall this year. Right. I can kind of ease into the school year a little bit. You don't lose those first couple of weeks, it seems like. Right. And so, and then, we'll get, there's still a lot of opportunities. I've sent stuff out to kids, so there's still some that are competing here and there with track and field down in Fargo and stuff. So, but we'll look forward to next season. One more time.
Really?
As long as you're here, I'm here.
Well, I don't plan on going anywhere, so as long as I'm not going anywhere, you're not going anywhere.
All right.
So that's the way we do it.
Okay.
Trevor, thanks much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coach Trevor Bakalar for Highlander Track. We'll be back, wrap things up with this edition of Coach's Corner on the Highlander Activity Network. Back here at Coach's Corner here in the Highlander Activity Network, and as we mentioned, our final show of the 2024-25 school year. Before we know it, we're going to be in middle of August and football season. Of course, next year is going to be just a fun year for sports with Valley City. Of course, moving into Class B with some of the sports. We are in a different class now in football. We'll be playing teams like Velva, defending state champ, will be our very first game of the year. We'll see Oaks, we'll see Mayport CG, so a lot of new teams that we'll be seeing on the football field. Class volleyball, now the 3-class system comes in volleyball. So we'll be in the same class just like we have been for basketball these past couple of years. Volleyball, now we'll see that coming up next season. The Northern Cass, Lisbon, Central Cass, Kindred, Oak Grove, Wahpeton, Devils Lake, teams like that we'll see in the middle class. And of course, wrestling back into Class B. We'll be in that southeast region, and you're going to be seeing the Lisbons, the Lemoores, the Oaks, and some of the top South Borders, some of the top wrestling teams in the state. when we move down into Class B in wrestling. Same with baseball and softball. They'll be moving into new regions as well. So it's going to be a fun year next year with the Highlander Activities, hosting region tournaments and hosting a lot of different things as we move into a new class. And it'll be a fun year next year. So stay tuned as we will be back again in the fall. Again, as usual, my thanks to Rain Nelson and Brian Krewald throughout the season, our technical directors, sound producers, camera operators, and keeping me in line, which pretty much was a full-time job for those two. And I always appreciate what they do. And of course, for all of you that join us on YouTube, just remember, we'll be back again next year. We'll get into that football season and volleyball season in August. So before you know it, we'll be talking sports again here on the Highlander Activity Network. And one final word, of course, the vote comes up on Tuesday for the referendum, so don't forget to go online. If you still have some questions, check things out at thehighlanders.org. Click on that referendum button and get all the information you need. And again, vote coming up here on Tuesday, June 10th. District office is the voting place. And you probably still can get that absentee ballot, but you got to apply for that. Just go online and apply for that. But be sure to get all the information you need. So come June 10th, you can be an informed voter. Well, that's going to wrap things up. We hope you have a great summer. We'll see you back here in the fall of 2025. And this is Coach's Corner on the Highlander Activity Network.